Good morning. Welcome to our career chat with Caitlyn Wolfe, singer-songwriter. We're excited to have Caitlyn join us today. And let's start off, Caitlyn, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what led you to an interest in singing and songwriting?
Sure. So, like everyone said, my name's Caitlin Wolfe. And I guess what led me here as a whole, a little bit of my backstory is I've always sang and loved theater and speech and being in front of people. And I've also always had kind of an interest in writing. I started a lot before writing songs. I wrote a lot of short stories and poems. And if you ever saw my homework assignments when I was in school, I always had like poems and stuff written in the margins when I was bored in class. So I still have lots and lots of notebooks of them. But yeah, I started off doing that kind of thing. And then when I got through high school, middle school, I did musicals and plays and jazz choir. And then when I got to college, I did an a cappella group at University of Iowa. So kind of like Pitch Perfect, if you guys are more familiar with that, which was really exciting. And I ended up doing a musical in college, which is when I met my original band. They were in the pit of the musical, so they were the people playing the instruments when I was on stage singing. So I met some of my original band when I was doing that, which led me to being in my first band where I actually got paid and everything when I was about 21, and I'm 26 right now. So I've been doing it professionally, you could say, for 5 years.
So what did you actually study in college then, Caitlyn?
So I have an undergrad degree in psychology and music. So I started college going for music business and songwriting in a school in Nashville, Tennessee. But then I ended up back in Iowa and they didn't have a music business degree at that college. So I got what they have called as a dual degree. And since I already had so many music classes, I picked up a psych um, because I really was interested in how people think and why they think the way they think, which sounds weird, but it actually was really helpful to the songwriting and just working with so many different people in my career right now. It was really helpful because I kind of can understand them better and relate to them better. And then I actually went back pretty recently and I got my master's in business in 2019.
Excellent. Okay. So they all have a worksheet, right? That which you
Mhm.
probably know, and they use that. So I'll make sure we get these questions covered before we dive into other questions. So please put your questions in the chat if you have them. Um, can you just tell us about the variety of careers available in the music industry, and maybe even throw in there what you do for your day job and how that fits,
Sure.
so you can still focus on your passion?
Yeah, so there are so many aspects to the music business. Actually, when I went to University of Iowa, I was the president and founder of an organization called CMA, C, CMA, so Country Music Association, EDU for education. And it was started in Nashville. So I went to Nashville and did all my training and then came back to Iowa and was working with other college students. And truly, what it was exploring careers in the music business. So you have more creative careers, like more what I do right now, which is the songwriting, the performing aspect. But then you also have so many other careers that could be involved. So you could do publishing in music. That means the people who write the songs somehow have to get paid. So you would work with the songwriters, and they're not always the same people as the singers. So, for example, I'm really big into country music. So, if you know who like Carrie Underwood is, she doesn't write any of her own music. She sings other people's music. So those songwriters have to get paid. So that's with a publisher. Or you could do it with like a record label, and you could do the business side. You could be a tour manager, which is kind of like the mom that goes on the road when bands go touring and they make sure that the hotels are booked, they make sure that there's food everywhere, they can make sure that everyone's following their schedule. So that's a tour manager. And then a lot of artists have their own management, which would tell them they kind of handle all the emails and the phone calls and things like that when you have a big artist, so they can kind of focus on what they do best, which is usually the performing side. Then you have A&R people, which is artist and repertoire, and they kind of scour TikTok and YouTube and all the social media stuff, and they try to see who they think will be the next biggest singer so they can get on those management teams. So those are just a few of the different things in the music business that exist, depending on what kind of stuff you're interested in. Also, copyright law. So if you want to be a lawyer and work with musicians, that's a huge, huge field as well. So there's lots of ways that you can be involved in the music business. I have a day job, as Gina and Stephanie know, at NICC. So I, during the day, will come work with students and help them with career exploration and finding what college might be a good fit for them. But then on nights and weekends and all my free time, that's when I go play shows. So I go sing in front of people or write songs or do kind of the back end things of kind of exploring my own career. So that means the marketing and the making connections with different venues and people to make sure that I have gigs to go to and putting out new music and selling merchandise like t-shirts with my name on them, things like that.
Sounds like you need a broad skill set for what you do. So
Yeah,
there were some soft skills you mentioned in there. Do you want to tell us about what soft skills you think it takes to be successful?
I would say the number one is just communication and being able to communicate with a wide range of people. And there's different levels of that. So at gigs, there would be people that might come up to me and talk to me and say, I like that song, or, they want to meet me. And that's, I think, the easy part of the communication. Because for me, I'm not scared of public speaking. So that I think is just fun. But there are more kind of scary conversations you get to have, like knowing how much to charge people because this is your talent and your job. So you don't always do it for free. So then you have to do what they call negotiations about how much it's going to cost for them to hire you. And I think those are kind of nerve-wracking conversations because, you don't want them to look at you like you're crazy, but you also want to make sure you're getting the money that you're worth. So communicating is definitely number one. And you also want to be professional so they can take you seriously, but also friendly enough that they want to be your friend and hire you for other things.
Great advice for lots of different avenues of careers, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so you have a degree in music. Do you think it's required to have a degree in music to go to into any of these fields, or what advice would you give? I know you told me once you had a really interesting story where you loved music, but
Sure.
you actually kind of faked it for a while, right? That you knew about music.
Yeah, I think every musician would tell you that they take a different path to get to where they are. So I would not consider myself a very good musician in the sense that I don't know a lot of the theory behind music. So music is kind of a math. And I, like Gina said, kind of fake it till I make it. So I taught myself how to play guitar and I was self-taught for vocally until I was in college. So I never had lessons or anything like that growing up. But there are a lot of musicians that I know that excel in the theory. So they can play 10 different instruments. And a lot of those individuals did go to school for music. They went for, jazz guitar or something like that, which is so cool. And I think that if you have to know what your end goal is to know what kind of education you want, and that's for music or anything else. So for me, I don't really need a degree in music because I don't want to be a music teacher or anything like that. If you want to be a music teacher, going to school for that is definitely important because you can go to school for music education, for example. Or if you want to do more with the songwriting side, that's originally what I started with, which is why it ended up being in music, even though I didn't really want the music side. I wanted more of the songwriting side. And I don't need to go to school to be a songwriter or be a musician, but it's really helpful to go to school and hone in on the skills that help you become a successful musician. So I know that I can take care of my finances. So, making music, buying guitars and music equipment, that all costs money. So I know if I have the business smarts that I don't have to hire somebody else who has the business smarts to do that stuff for me. Or I know that I can do the marketing and communications myself. So I don't have to hire a booking agent, for example. A lot of musicians have a booking agent who is the person that goes and books all their gigs for them. Whereas I can just do that myself. So it saves me money. Ooh, I see a lot of questions. Do you want me to
I
answer
know
them?
we have so many fun questions. Do you want to just dive into those,
I
Caitlin, since you're seeing them, or
definitely
do you want me to?
do. Nope, I
For
can
you
rock on
though.
them. So when did I decide to pursue music? I think the world decided it for me. I was singing when I was 3 or 4 years old. I have pictures of me with little microphones and all sorts of things. But I think I made the conscious decision probably when I was 20 or 21. So later on, when I was truly deciding that I wanted to pursue it as not just a hobby, but an income source and like a job. Did you see yourself doing this when you were in middle school? Yep. I was in middle school show choir and musicals and choir. And then when I got to high school, I did competitive speech, more musicals, more plays, all the stuff that I could do to get in front of stage. It was on stage, it was really fun. And in high school, at my high school, we didn't have a lot of music classes, but I did take my first music theory class in high school. Um, I'll tell you something bad. I joined, I was in an honor choir my freshman year of high school. So in ninth grade, and I was the only freshman that got into the choir. So I was really excited. But part of getting into the choir was that we had to sight read. So you have to read the music notes and sing it back what you're seeing. And I did not know how to sight read, but I was the second one to go. And I just memorized the girl that went first who did know how to sight read. And then I got in and they just thought I knew how to sight read. Well, then like 6 months later, they realized when I had to sight read in a separate occasion that I did not know how to do it. And I'd just been faking it until I made it the whole time. So my choir teacher said I either had to go to voice lessons to learn how to read music or I had to join band. So I joined band for the first time my sophomore year of high school so I could try to read music. And I did learn a little bit of how to read music, but I'm not going to lie, I'm still not super great. So I took that music theory class when I was in band with my band teacher.
What did you play in band? Can I ask, Caitlin? Because I'm a
I
bander.
wanted to play the drums,
Oh,
but they said no.
because you needed
So
to know the notes.
yes. So I played French horn because that's kind of the singer's instrument. If you ever talk to a lot of people who
Okay.
do band, they'll tell you you have to have a really good ear. And obviously, since I just learned everything by ear, they knew I could handle that part. So I picked
That's
up French
great.
horn my sophomore year of high school.
Fantastic.
Um, what are the first steps for any musician? I would say figure out what your end goal is. So for me, my ultimate goal is to be a songwriter. If I don't perform on stages for big crowds after this year, that would be okay with me if I can write songs for other people or write songs for myself, because for me, that's my favorite part. And if that's your goal and if that's your steps that you want to take, then you know you should start writing. So there was many, many years where I wrote a song every single day. Now I go through like every other month where I'll write a song a day. So in February, I wrote a song every single day. This month, I'm taking a little break. Next month. So I kind of rotate because I have other things going on in my life. So right now, I'm in the process of putting out a new song. So I'll have a new song come out in June, which will be exciting. So I've been in the recording studio working on that. And I have two big gigs coming up this summer. And a gig is just a performance. So I'll be at the Benton County Fair in June, and I'll open up for an older country singer named Aaron Tippin. And then I'll be at the Buchanan County Fair in July, and I'll open up for Justin Moore there. So that'll be like 5,000 people. So it'll be scary, but really exciting. And then is making connections with people important is the other question I see on here. And absolutely. Like I said, just by making friends in college, that's how they became my first band that I was in. So those connections are really important. And then I mentioned earlier that I started college in Nashville. Well, actually, I'm moving back to Nashville here soon. And I'm still friends with all the people I met in Nashville. So they're going to be my neighbors when I move back. And they both work, the two girls that I'm going to be neighbors with, they both work in the music industry still. So they work in publishing, which is with the songwriters that I talked about earlier. And then the other girl works with A&R, so artists and repertoire. So she works with helping find artists on social media like TikTok and YouTube to see if they have enough fans that they can put some money behind them and help them get even more fans. Thank you. I'm glad you listened to one of my songs. I have lots of songs out there right now. Some of them are old, but like I said, I'll have a new song coming out in July or in June. So that's a really fun one. Are there any of my family members in music? No. So I always was, I mean, my family likes music, but they're certainly not musicians. They were all athletes. And I played sports in middle school, but when I got to high school, we had to choose if we were going to be in the musical or play volleyball. And that was my sport. So I chose the musical and I quit volleyball. And so I was kind of the black sheep when I was growing up because all of my siblings played sports, multiple sports, and I have 5 siblings. And my parents both grew up playing sports or coaching sports for the other team or from like my siblings' teams. So they all liked music, but they don't play any instruments or anything like that. They sing in the kitchen for fun. That's about it. But they do inspire me. My siblings, I have a twin sister and my brothers are twins. So there's a lot of us kids and we're all about the same age. And they used to be really embarrassed by me because I would sing in the hallways at school and I'm not shy. And they're more quiet and reserved people. So they used to be really embarrassed by me. But now that I get to do some cool stuff, they're my fans now. So they come to my shows now and they get excited for me when I get to do fun things.
Have you written any songs about them,
My
Caitlyn?
siblings?
Yeah.
I've written songs about everything. I have thousands and thousands. I like to write songs about my family sometimes. Um, Old boyfriends I have songs about, people down the street. My new song that will come out is called Let's Drive, and it's about finally having some sunshine outside and the fun things you can do in the summer, especially around here. So going floating down the river or going to a fair. And I'm excited for that song to come out because it's definitely a feel good song.
That sounds fun. Okay, if you have any more questions, we have a few minutes left. Tell us your favorite parts about what you do and if there are any parts that you don't like so well.
My all-time favorite part is just connecting with people. So I have people that are listening to my music in other countries. So like all over in Europe and especially in Germany. For some reason, I have a lot of people in Germany that listen to me that I can see when I look up online. And also just connecting with people in person. There are some shows that I play, but they're not glamorous at all. There's maybe 5 people listening to me sing, but I get to meet those people and connect with them on a deeper level. And it's so worth it. I've made so many friends by doing music. And I get messages sometimes from people that say, I really related to this song and it really got me through a tough time. And I think that's really, really cool that I can have that impact on people. I see a question. If someone is interested in going into the music or art industry, what would you recommend in classes or things to do in high school, like musicals, choir? Yes. So definitely explore and see what kind of art that you're interested in. And that could be visual arts like painting or sculpting and things like that, or more like on stage creative arts in regards to like live. So musicals, choir, band, public speaking for sure, speech, all that stuff is really helpful. And if anything, if you learn you don't like it, that's helpful too. You can learn what you do like and what you don't like. I think it's really important for everyone to have a creative outlet, and whether that's writing or designing or singing or dancing, that stuff is so important just for your mental health and your well-being and expressing yourself in that way. So I would definitely recommend any kind of art classes like that, but also business classes are really helpful. As much as I hated math growing up, it's especially money math and stuff is really helpful right now. I have Excel sheets of, what I'm spending and what I'm making for money, so I make sure I'm making good decisions with my money. And then I would say any kind of communication classes like speech or composition. If you want to do the songwriting side, I got to take a really nice creative writing class in high school and college, which really impacted me. My high school creative writing teacher was amazing, and he really inspired me to not be scared of my own voice. And before that, I was kind of shy and I didn't want to share any of my writing. The hardest part of the music or art industries, critique and criticism is the hardest part, because every kind of art that exists in the world, whether that's music or photography or painting, the books you write in your free time or whatever, it's all art. And with art, you always have different opinions. So even if you sit in your chair right now and you think, oh, well, I'll be nice to people's art, you probably are not as nice as you think, because I'm sure there are songs that you don't like, or movies that you don't like, or books that you think actually suck that your teachers make you read in school. And that's all someone's art. So just like how it's nice to hear people love my songs or they love to come hear me live, there are people out there who think that I sound like a dying pig. So when you get comments like that, you just have to let them go because, you know, for just as many people that think you're not good, there's the same amount of people, if not more, that think you are good. So you have to truly be able to do it for yourself and do it because you love it, because sometimes you're going to hear things you don't want to hear.
So I think that's a good word of advice, right? You have to do it because you love it. So do you want to leave our audience today, unless they have more questions, with any just overall pieces of advice, inspiration that you can give them all as they'll be heading into high school on how to make the most of that time in their lives?
So I'm going to answer this question and then that's in the chat box. And then I'll also wrap up with your question, Gina, which is what keeps me going. And that is people like you guys, everyone listening, and people like Gina and Stephanie, because I think the number one thing everyone strives for in life is connection. They want to know that they have people to depend on or people that care about them. And I think music is such an incredible way to do that because even if you don't speak the same language as someone, I know K-pop's like really big right now. You know, they're not speaking English. You probably don't know most of what they're saying, but you can still connect with them and that song. And I just think that's so incredible when you learn songs of other languages that you can still remember, even though you don't even know half the words that they're singing and things like that. So, any way that you can make connections with people, I think that's truly what's going to make you happiest in your life is just having those connections with people. And for me, music is the best way to make those connections. And whether that's how I make some of my best friends. I'm in a wedding this year with a girl I met who came to my one of my gigs and we started talking after the show and now we've been friends for 4 years. So it's truly one of the coolest ways to meet people and do your own, be yourself. And by being yourself, you get to inspire people, which is awesome.
So it's never too early to start making those connections, right? So don't
Never
be
too
shy, get
early.
out there and talk to
Yep.
people now.
Yep. And if you are shy, you have social media, you can start there and make connections virtually. But absolutely, if you can start there and work your way up to talking to people in real life and engaging with random people on the streets or in restaurants or whatever, it's definitely going to be worth it.
Well, thank you, Caitlin. We appreciate your time today. And thank you, eighth graders, for the fantastic, fantastic questions. You set the bar high for the 1 o'clock group. So thank you for that. And we hope you have a great Friday.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.